Or didn't you know that the murderer was wearing gloves? See? That had nothing to do with it. Oh, so you know the murderer is wearing gloves, but everyone else overlooks the fact that he opened a locker while wearing gloves that's supposed to sense your freaking fingerprints! Okay. February 24th, 12:14 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 9. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. That didn't come back. Wait, do I have the files? Can I read them? Oh, I can. Incident number SL9. Close. Perpetrator Joe Derrick. Crime serial murder. Sentence death. No 4. Victims are Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Edith Kirby, Rachel Moss, Jed Bates, Neil Marshall. Neil Marshall? That Nate... Is that like the brother of Jake Marshall? Trial data. Head prosecutor, Miles Edgeworth. Witnesses, Lana Sky and Emma Sky. Investigation Task Force. Executive investigators, Damon Gant. Lana Sky. Head investigator, Bruce Goodman. Investigators, Jake Marshall, Angel Starr. So Jake's brother was one of the victims. Either that or was like his dad or something. It's definitely a relative of Jake. What is... Why were they all killed, though? And that didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Oh, hi. How are you? Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner. Oh, I'm just a man, same as you. One of the trials of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Yes, we get it. Oh, I know. You're a patrolman. As for my name, you can listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? Never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sand. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English. Day of the crime. My job was to keep a wary eye on Bone Orchard. Let's say, I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day. That ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. I remember right. I was at the street side saloon at the time I went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks in the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines. Or with following orders. Everyone's got the weakness. Now don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Day of the crime. Ah, Joe, let's keep wearing on in the Bone Orchard. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure to move on steering the camera monitor. That room's so still, even time dies in there. I was just caretaker who entered the coordinates. You entered them? Radio's nothing not that useful. When time has come, I'd erase the tape. Nothing unusual is recorded. Tapes are to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I erased the tape, it felt like I was erasing part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic. This isn't going to do him any good. So, in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room. So, I'm supposed to make rounds 3 times a day. That ain't my style. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I say, partner? I told you that ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No, Desperado, I know it's rules getting his way. No desperados I know joined the police force. So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime, just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. There was a rubber glove that stuck in the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that? Sorry, partner. Can't say I do. I haven't been in that crypt in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? Besides, something's protected by 2 security systems anyway. You used to be a detective, so you've used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course. Back in the day, my locker was a gold mine of evidence. And yet, you didn't know that the fingerprint locking mechanism? Sorry, partner. I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a bike works. That's quite, incredible. Sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe said something like that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Can you tell us what you were doing when the crime took place? I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time it all went down. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. Spaghetti Western, okay. I'll even eat a steak. Lunch is gonna be papalas, vongols, sea-pipes, pasta. Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles? Not all desperados eat tacos, partner. That's not what I meant. Hope that was at least taught. This has at least taught you a lesson. That's strange. It's usually where Edgeworth says, "Do you not want to race this year? Want to race this year?" I'm just an innocent traveling man. So if here I am, it's time I hit the trail. Out of ammo, Officer Marshall? That's right, partner. Or as you call it, evidence. But if you plan to pin me on this crime, you better draw. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. My steel horse is waiting to carry me back west into the sunset. One thing seems clear. Despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room, the witness doesn't appear to have seen anything. Texans don't take orders from anyone. Everyone knows that. Apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have a trump card up my sleeve, so I'd best keep my cool. Before I use it, though, I better get the ante. Let's try here. Haha! Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this. After all, you were in the security room at the time of the crime. Yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or, to be exact, a handprint. That's real good, partner. Like I said, I'm a caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. And that's my grounds. About once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene? The blood was wiped away. However, a luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? Seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well. You may begin your testimony about your fingerprints found at the scene of the crime. Blood-stained fingerprints. Like I say, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. Wouldn't just happen to be at the same place as blood-stained handprints. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. Blood stained and the fingerprint were completely unrelated. Or didn't you know that the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it. Oh, so you know the murderer was wearing gloves, but everyone else overlooks the fact that he opened a locker while wearing gloves that's supposed to sense your freaking fingerprints! Frick all of you! All of you are idiots! The witness's explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. Defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something. I can feel it. That's my chance to prove it. Blood-stained fingerprints. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. That's because you... how did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. And one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, there was a heap of broken dreams. I see. It was strange my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently his fingerprint data was never removed from the locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without ever knowing it. Marshall's fingerprints updated the court record. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the bloodstained fingerprint. So then, what about the bloody handprint? Wasn't mine. It's no mystery. Please explain. My locker's covered with my fingerprints. Just so happens. Murderer touched the locker with my fingerprint was by chance. Oh, dang it. The chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. The chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna get no reward from me with mere fingerprint. You wanna know why? Blood stain and fingerprint are completely unrelated. Unrelated? There is a difference night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's gotta do with breakfast, while the other's type of murder. He's right. Although seemingly alike, they are totally different. I don't see how homonyms have to do with this. Or didn't you know that the murderer was wearing gloves? How do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. Keep out on the reports. There's a blood stain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Well, yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. That's a logical conclusion. How in the start to get the picture, partner? The picture? It's a sea of blood. In the desert, it's just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. Security tape. So long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. There is. The thing hanging out of your locker! If that's your locker, then you were the one in there! You stole Goodman's ID! This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now. Yes, thank you! Finally! Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us this incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall. Ah, frickin' Blue Badger's back! Frick you! Okay, now I can freaking get the frickin' cloth. Bringing our attention back to the security camera. It's a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas. So are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video! Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witness's, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Marshall just passed out on the ground. Oh, the white cloth. It's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then, it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Order. Order! It would seem hold your horses. Sorry, partner. You got the wrong man. So what? My locker was open. That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. Come on, follow me up and choose Ma. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I open that locker. Now prove it. Oh, you mean prove it with the evidence of the evidence locker? Like this? A fingerprint sensor. We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is that? Is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this.
In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks.
So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? Where'd you get the jerky from? Is that your belt? I only got 1 word for you. No! What the fuck happened? Where did the wild wind from the west come from? What just happened there? Order. Order. Order! Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Why are you eating your belt? Is that jerky? Where did he get jerky from? Is he eating jerky or is he like pulling on his belt? What is that? Please answer the question. Olay? Oh, he did say Olay. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's all right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet, Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. And that's so then. Where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? He was the so-called... Gee, I wonder what he was. Was he the locker? No. Was he at the door? No. Was he probably where the camera was? No. Was he... Killer. Was he the killer? No. He was the victim itself. Officer Marshall was standing right there. There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. How do we know it's Goodman, huh? Correct. Unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you, dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted.
When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir!
Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond?
He said, like, stop with the bullhorn! Even in a memory, you have your stupid bullhorn! He suddenly pulled a knife on me!
Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, He wouldn't have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He can show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You have quite an imagination, Potter. You got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break up the detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Why do you keep bringing that up? Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. Huh? I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall, there's no place to go. Return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise. But rather... why... Oh, okay. But rather, I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was open in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later, as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker, according to the defense's argument. Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. He shoved the jacket in there. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that. He opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot. Very well. Let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker. Oh, because of the blood. Let's just watch this stupid thing while I eat real quick. Stupid freaking blue badger, why are you here? Right there. That's where it is. Right here. Meekins! Look at Meekins right here! He seems so uncertain about himself. Oh, music stopped. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end. Yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked. The white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat? You can just walk out like that. So you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, pardon. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I hadn't underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, you were only half as persistent then as you are today. We all wouldn't have to be here now would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright. Alright. It seems the time has come. Marshall's confession. And that day, I can just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I'm planning to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekin. I knocked him out. Managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then why could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for a small donation. For such a small donation. Marshall's confession. I had to do that day. I can just stand by and let it die. When you say it, you mean you even had to ask Barner? That cell 9 incident. Two years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Now, if I have anything to do with it, that incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When that case is closed, the case's lead detective can take a look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? Because his brother's dead! And that day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and I dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to pull the security camera. And the detective's ID card? I was sold that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filing out the lost item report. I returned his ID card. Left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open the lock yourself. But he could because of the rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off. Let yourself a little surprised. I was planning on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way, with me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and wait a second! The baby take his knife? Why did he take his knife? Bailiff, you suck at your job! You managed to escape. I knew which areas would be caught on the camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape was erased anyway. The security tape was erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coach in your struggle with Officer Meekins. Your son was in the security room when I came out. Jake wouldn't have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is, on that day, there wasn't any murder in that evidence room at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me. Now not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? Now open the locker. The evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where's that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? By the way, partner, it's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID? Injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will all have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one's mine. I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. Can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Derrick was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure is he deserved a sentence. I remember the Joe Derrick case. It involved serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out. But there's something that still bothers me. Something went down on that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's why I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Because of my brother! Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. Better take another look at the files. Alright. Present... Officer Marshall. I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago. He received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? You must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. Oh, I feel bad. Oh, you finally took off your hat, though. He was investigating the murders of Dan and Gant, the deputy chief of police. That's the other man! The group of detectives I was part of worked under me. We were desperate to prosecute the kill. Joe Derrick. My brother fought Derrick, was killed. That was the first time Derrick left behind any evidence. It's all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed, at least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Derrick. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it. That's your reason for your insane actions. There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this faked murder was going on at the police department. Chance? Gotta be more than just that. So no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime. That means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one. Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. But wait! A verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. Seems to me, boys got the draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries of the police department have been resolved. No doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. And the testimony of one Miss Angel Starr is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was a fake. I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. How did you not realize? How did you not realize? Now then, the time for that verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant. Hold it! Who's yelling? Who's yelling? Well, Emma, why are you here? Your Honor! Wait! Emma! The defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright. Are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor? Oh, I'm a Please, Your Honor. All I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. Oh, Edgeworth's becoming a good guy. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Derrick killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky's sisters are in that file. That's when I figured it out. I mean, Officer Marshall was trying to do that day, and I knew his fingerprints had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint. I mean, the traces of blood found in Detective Gumshoe's locker. But no fingerprints are found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry. I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please, don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But, Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you! Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry. I can't be of more use. But still, you're a lot better than Maya. If you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be... Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? I checked. There's something I'm missing. There's gotta be. This handprint left at the crime scene. Clearly shows the contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is you're grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's gotta be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing on the floor plans? Blue Badger! That's alright, is it? Wait, is it? What about this piece of plywood? Blue Badger. Mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. What? Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please, look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well, what? That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker. What? Why are you blown back? You're not the one that put the handprint there! So that means... just... what does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me. I didn't put them there.
Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically.
Emma.
On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the blue badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker.
So, that must mean this blood mark appeared before Meekins put the badger down. There was only 2 people that came in before Meekins. Was left there before the blue badger was brought in. Was brought in? Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, the police department's evidence room. Blood was spilled not once, but twice. Ow. One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand with a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time... I'm waiting. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape had been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To summarize, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in the evidence room. That's right. The blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well. Then tell us, when did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? Okay, so either it's going to be the autopsy report or it's going to be the ID card record. If the crime took place inside the evidence room... Oh, okay, it was the ID card record. Then the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, an ID card would have been required. ID card. Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at... Let's see here, 4:50 p.m.? If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Ah! Ah! Miles Edgeworth! Just what have you done? I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure it out. It couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol test that the blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have been just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Yeah, the 77777 guy! Who's the 7777777 guy? Who's the 77s? Let's look at the chart again. There's There's only one other card number remaining. 7777777. I don't know how many times I've said it at this time. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. Who was Gant? I am almost convinced it's Gant. I can't tell you. It has to be Gant. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 7777777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 7777777. That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Who cares how many sevens it is? It's all sevens! Who cares how many it is? There's only 7 numbers with the ID numbers! Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of the ID card. At least at present. What? Explain your seal, son. The ID number 7777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who is so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous! Just how— I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we'd be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask you a question. Yes. No, not you. Her. Defendant's in over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course, we've looked up her ID number. And it's not 7777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. It's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing. About that incident. The SL9 incident. Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Oh, why are you here? Why are you here now? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Huh.
Lana!
I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. Wait, where is she going? She's like appearing and disappearing here at the freaking defendant stand. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me and this scare and that crime? My brother being killed in that very case, in the eye, and say that you did. Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. It's just the way it is. We did what we had to do, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved.
But Lana!
Even if it involved forging evidence. Wait, Lana forged evidence? Why? Why? See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Order! 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 Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. Oh, you people are noisy. Shut up already! Thank you! Dun, 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 dun. So now we're back to investigating. It's gonna be our last day of investigating. Then the last day of trial. And I'm almost positive it's gotta be Gant. Gant has to be the killer. Captain or higher. And he is the chief of police.